Greetings, my fabulous viewers. It's your Fab Pal L, and they're here with their 1978 GE clock radio. And I was having some inconsistent function with the controls. I used the liquid deoxit, which did help, but I got this as a product, and I'm hoping it will improve the function of it. It would fast forward the time, but it wouldn't rewind the time. So the controls we have are fast and slow. It's got a lock for the timer, for the actual time. Same thing for the alarm. There's a forward and then there's a reverse, which is convenient, I guess, you know, so you don't have to, like, you know, some clocks just let you go in one direction. And then the alarm wouldn't activate. It would just defer to the actual FM radio, even though that you had it on the alarm setting. So let's see, we can tune something in here. And okay, so let's test the functionality here. I'm using a different camera angle, so hopefully it's not gonna be too weird. So, alrighty, so let's do this. Okay, that is working fine. See, the slow button's not working. Well, okay. I do have to hold it down a little bit. Let's see if the rewind button works. Nope. Nope. Well, now it's working. I can hear it click. I don't know if it's just... I'm gonna just kind of wiggle it there a little bit, see if it does something. Nope. Okay. See, it's intermittent, so it's working now, but I do have to hold this button for several seconds. All right, let's take a look-see at the setting the alarm. Yep. See those buttons? These buttons are working. Yep. Yep. Okay. So maybe the deoxit did do a thing where it helped it out a bit. All right. It does have a sleep timer, which is very interesting. So you can set that for X amount of minutes. Let's test out the alarm function. This will be fun. So I'm just testing the alarm function here at this juncture. This 1978 General Electric. Well, the alarm just goes on the radio, but it's not doing the sound. So it's supposed to be making a horrendous beep sound at this point. So let's see if we can put a little bit of this deoxit on that. And then maybe just a little bit on these sliders. They seem to be working now. So we'll just touch those up as we're in there. But first things first, safety. All right, we're disconnected now. This is a power failure tone, so if it loses power, I think it has a capacitor that lets you know. I've not tested that yet. So it's really embedded in there. So we had 6 screws here. All right. And then you do have to be careful with the, this is the little control, the rheostat for the brightness for the fluorescent display. And that broke off earlier, and I had to mend that with a little bit of super glue and then these have to come out next. So let me cut these out gently. I don't recall if it had a little piece of felt or something underneath these. I know there's a little section on the other side. So this whole case just lifts right off like so. And you've got your speaker that's connected in there. And that is a Foster 16 ohm, 1 watt. Looks like a 4-inch speaker. So where I want to get that deoxit is like right in here. Maybe drop some of that in there. So there we are. You can see those little tiny contacts in there. And on the other side as well. So I'm just going to take this brush. Just going to put that right on there. It's a very stiff brush. There we are. It's for the snooze. Go. Alrighty. Also gonna hit the pot for the volume as well. Yeah, that feels much better. Thing over here on this rheostat. There we go. And then you can actually see how the indicator is in there, and it actually has its own little bit of grease and stuff in there that it's just kind of like floats in there, kind of clean some of that stuff up as well. And that's what I was afraid of. This thing here is not the greatest for the mount, but I'll apply a little bit more super glue on that. As the Klingons would say, kapla, success. So this broke off right at the junction point. And so I'm going to reapply that. I did use a bit of shrink tubing there just to kind of keep it doing its thing. So at least it's attached on one end. Which, I'll just hold this down here. So it snapped right at the worst possible junction. And this is just a piece of plastic going into another plastic mount. And it's just not the greatest design implement because it does stick out in the back of the case, and it just is not good, and wants to pop up here too. But at least it's attached, so that's a good sign. So I'm gonna reassemble this with that in the back so it provides some support. And then I'm just lining up these guys right here. And yeah, see how that just kind of like floats back there? This was broken off, so at least it held on with that bit of shrink tubing on one side and just needed a little bit of more things. So what we're going to do is we're going to retest this and make sure my bottle is tightened up. And we are going to go from here and see what we can do. So, yep, found my super glue. I tend to use whatever I can find on sale. However, I do like the strength of this particular brand. It works exceptionally well. So, Before I put all the screws in, I'm just going to put in one of them here just to kind of keep things together, being that I've glued that knob back. I don't want things to slip out and move on me too much. There we go. That's fine. Okay, so let's get this plugged back in. Let's see how we fare. Okay, so let's get the time set here. So we'll say, well, that works so much better now. We'll say 12:04. And the alarm, let's do 12:05. 3, 4, 5. There we go. Let's see if the reverse works now. Yep. Oh, whoops. Yeah, that works really fine. Okay, let's see if that comes on with the alarm sound. Nope. See, it works if you switch it back and forth. So, alarm set for 12:26. The time is currently 12:25. Set that. Turn the volume up. We're going to test. Okay, and the snooze works. Okay, so as a clock radio, it works fine. It's just not allowing that buzzer on the alarm setting to activate. It'll work if you oscillate it back and forth a couple times. Whatever connection it's making is making the connection, but I wasn't a really big fan of that sound anyways. This is the same, just to give you some context to back history. Maybe I should have talked about that first, but the only reason I bought this to restore, and I have another one that's exactly like this, also made in 1978, is this was the clock radio that my folks had back in 78, 79, and it lasted for, I don't know, 20 years before it gave up the ghost. So I love anything fluorescent, vacuum fluorescent displays. And then with that knob that I fixed, you know, I can control the brightness there. And so that works great. All the capacitors, all the things in here are looking good. But for some reason, it's just not allowing that tone for the alarm setting. So you have fast, slow, forward, lock, reverse. And then there's your alarm, your time, and your sleep selector. And then you have on, off, music, and then alarm. And the alarm function is the one thing on here that's just not activating. But these controls feel a lot better. I really like this. It's got these buttons now fully functional. And I just used a little on here, nothing on here, but I also put some in the actual thing. So I'm going to reapply a little bit more on here to see if we can get that to actually come together. So stay tuned. Doesn't look like any cold joints at all. So we're just going to reassemble this. It's good, but I was having initial issues with those so while we're in sliders here, and the connection summation of what needed to be done. So the speaker mounts themselves, slide this over, were all broken. So I used a little bit of glue, super glue, to fix them in their correct orientation. Then I bolstered it with a little bit of hot melt glue. Same thing with these three mounts. I could not find the mount for this, so it's just empty under there and sharp. So these are going to be fine. A little bit of hot melt glue around the mounts just to bolster them, and then of course on top. That snapped, so I had to glue it and use a little shrink tubing, that knob through there. It's kind of a pain. And then of course down here you have to slide those sliders through there. sure the case is good.
Starting under $20,000. Plus the price you see is the price you pay.
Okay, so it's not doing that. But when you slide it over one and back,
Guaranteed, even appraise your
that's the annoying sound. But it does have a radio setting that will just, for the alarm to come on for radio, or the alarm, it's just reverting back to the radio. That's fine. I'm not really going to be using this as a clock radio, using that alarm function because it's annoying. I never really liked it. I know my folks used it to wake up to the radio sounds in the morning.
okay, deal.
It has the radio, and I love the backlit tuning display there. That's my bag, as well as the vacuum fluorescent display. But at least these buttons are now, working, and they're going forward, and they're good. They're good. So those were a little iffy before, especially setting the time. So that's forward, fast, slow, lock, rewind, fast, slow. So those are all working. So that's a win there. That's what I needed. So I'm going to call this a partial win, thanks to the nail lacquer style deoxit. But it did a lot better than the liquid, the D5. I think this has a little bit better cleaning properties, and it's non-hazardous, safe on plastics, and non-flammable, which is important. So it's the first time I've used this. I'm not, endorsed by this brand or anything. I bought this with my own money, but no, I'm very pleased with the functionality of this radio, clock radio. And this is again from 1978. You gotta love the wood grain finish. And then I found a wonderful website that allowed me to decode the date codes on here. So the 8 in there does indeed stand for, it's hard to see, it says 1820, but the 8 does correspond to 1978, and then the other dates there for manufacturing times and whatnot. So this is the model number 7-4665 Alpha, and walnut grain finish on polystyrene, and there's a power failure tone. I've never tried that. Let's see what it sounds. Maybe lose the power. I don't know if that has anything that shows up on the display, but first time testing this, so we're going to see if that works. Let's see if it does anything. Here we go. Nope. We got nothing. Maybe that's powered by a capacitor, since this was before, different things. But yeah, power failure tone. Could always give it a little shot of deoxit and see if that works. Nope, doesn't work. That's okay. So the two things against this are the power failure tone doesn't work, and the setting it for the alarm doesn't work either. It just defers to clock radio, which is still a good thing. At least it's not going to leave you high and dry like the alarm function's not working, but at least you're waking up to some kind of sound, or at least static. So there we go. So this is a 1978 GE clock radio, and thank you for sharing these little moments of hobby repair and fix it, and I appreciate everybody, and definitely take care. Bye for now.